Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of the Force series. Today we're going to be doing the push and pull video into one video. And so by the end of this video, you'll be able to push characters away from you and pull them towards you. And if you want access to the code, make sure you head over to our Roblox group, find the game there, click the dots in the top right corner, then click edit, and you will have access to all the code and all the assets that we use. Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of our Force series. So first thing we're going to do is actually fix a bug that was left over from the previous video. And this bug makes it so, let's just damage our character real quick so I can show you. This bug makes it so when our health bar gets down to the very bottom, if you guys remember, we had that 20 value that made it so we couldn't heal until our health bar gets up to a certain point. But the bug actually makes it so we are able to heal our character before that bar gets back up. So let's damage it again so we can see. So right now, the health bar technically shouldn't be able to heal them. But if we see up here in the top, our health bar is, the force bar shouldn't allow our health to increase, but it is. Which is a problem because then it means our character can heal themselves when they shouldn't be able to. So let's open up our force power script here. And we're just going to copy this stop all line of code here. And then we're going to make sure that if the bar is depleted and they shouldn't be able to use a health or force power, we're just going to insert this stop all fire server or server event here just to make sure that the player can't heal themselves if they're not supposed to be able to. So let's test this out real quick. So we'll hold on H to fully get rid of it. And then we'll come up to the server, damage our humanoid, down to 1 health. Now let's test it. Great, and now it's working perfectly. We have to wait for it to get up to a certain point. Come down here, and now we can't heal them unless our health bar lets us heal them. Excellent. So, now that we fixed that bug, let's move on with the video. So today we're going to be talking about, we're going to be doing the force pull and the force push. We're going to combine these two into one video because they're very similar in how they work. So what we're going to be able to do with this force pull and push is when our character clicks on an enemy, it can be anybody. When they click on anybody, it's going to either push them away or pull them away based on what button they click on their keyboard. So let's see. We are going to have to add in a new keybind for it. So with this context action service bind here, we're going to copy this line and we're going to paste it in. We're going to change the action name to push. And we can also change the keybind to maybe we'll click T for push. Oh, actually, I did want to show you guys one more thing that I forgot to last video. So I said the mobile versions of the thing will have a button for you to click. I want to show you guys what that button looks like. So these buttons will pop up like these. And if you guys want to learn more about the context action service, there is ways to reposition these buttons, put textures on or images on the button, and put titles on the button. But we are not going to be talking about that in the video because we are just going to be focusing on how to implement the force powers themselves. But as you can see, if we hold down the healing button, the force bar works. If you let go of the healing button, the force bar starts to go back up, just as you'd expect a force bar to function. And if you want to get this phone view, if you click on the top right, there's this image that looks like a phone and a tablet. If you click it, it will emulate that device on your screen. All right, so enough about that. Let's get back to the push. So in this button handler function, we are going to copy everything that has to do with healing. Control C to copy. Come down a few lines, Control V and paste. And we're just going to change the word healing to push. And we are also going to put push here and push here. So now we're telling the server to begin the push and to end the push when we click the T button. We don't have to edit any code down here because it's just the force power bar. That's still going to work normally. But we do have to come up to the server, and where it says power name equals healing, let's copy all of this code down to line 22 here. copy that, come down a few lines, paste it, and now we're going to make it say push. And we are going to create a new table for it. So let's make a new table here, local pushing new table. And then we're just going to make it so pushing player equals true, pushing player equals false. Now, right now, if we test this, it won't do anything because we haven't told it how to actually push a player. But we can do that rather easily, actually. But first, we are going to have to get the mouse from the player. So in order to do that, we are going to have to come up here, local mouse, local player, get mouse. So now we have access to the player's mouse using this get mouse function on the local player. And we're going to come down here to the push, and we are just going to do local target player equals mouse dot target. Or let's not name this target player. Let's name it target object. And we'll check to see if that object is a player. So what mouse dot target is whatever part your mouse is hovering over. So if I insert a new part here quickly, if I hover my mouse over this part, that will be what the mouse dot target is. If I hover it over the base plate, that's what the mouse dot target will be. So we can determine if this part is actually part of a player by checking every player and seeing if it's inside their character. So for blank, comma, player, in pairs, game, get players, or sorry, players get players, because we're using the player service that we inserted earlier, do. We're going to check to see if the player has a character, because if they're dead, or if they're in the middle of respawning, they won't have a character. And we're also going to check to see if the target object is a descendant of the player.character. Now what this will do, it will check to see if the part that we're hovering over is actually inside the player's character. And then we'll just print the player to see which character we're hovering over. And this will only happen as we hover over someone with our mouse and click the T button. So let's start a server here. We'll start it with 2 players. Just quick server. And then we'll see that we get 2 separate players on our screen here. Click allow access. If that pops up for you. I think that happens if you if it's your first time or you haven't done it in a while. I don't use this PC very often, so that's why it popped up for me. So this is our server. We don't want the server right now. You can tell it's the server because in the top left and right here it says server. We're just going to close it out. What we're more interested in is our players here. So I can drag this one over here and then drag the second player here. You can close out all these other menus because we don't need them. I am going to keep the output though so we can see who we're hovering over. So now if I hover over on this guy, this is player 2. On this screen is player 1. If we hover over player 1 and click T, we get an error. I believe it should just say is descendant of, not is a descendant of. So let's remove the is a and just change it to is descendant of. It's a function of the part. And let's get our server back up and test it again. I mean, there's always going to be bugs in the code, which is part of the development process. If you learn how to read the output menu, you'll learn rather quickly how to fix them yourself. But of course, if you do have trouble, you can head over to the Discord server and ask one of our helpers there, and we will help you guys as much as we can. So now we're spawned back in. Close off the menus we don't need. If we hover over player 1, click T, it prints player 1 in the output, which means that now if we hover over nothing, nothing will print. If we hover over player 1 will print. And you can see that down here. And if we try over here with player 2, Now when we hover over player 2, it's printing player 2 every time we click the button. Awesome. So now we can send over this information to the server. So let's move this begin code, and we'll put that begin code in here. And we're just going to tag on an extra thing here with the player. So now on the server, we're going to have to edit this code very slightly. So we'll just add in 3 dots. And what these 3 dots let us do is it lets us pass in a large amount of other parameters that are not necessarily the same each time they're passed, but lets us work with them in a way. I guess it's better to show you. So we have to create a variable for these 3 dots. So we'll call them args for arguments, and we'll put curly brackets around them and then 3 dots inside. So this takes these 3 dots and converts it to a table. And what's happening here is with our push function, these 3 dots, we've passed in this player object here. Okay, so if we come over to the push in the begin, if we print args1, because it's the first, it would be the first argument in the table. If we print args1 on the server, it should also print the same thing that we're getting on the client. So let's test this real quick. So in this case, we actually will want our server to be visible. So when all of our stuff loads in, we're going to bring up the server window so we can see what it's printing. And we can do that by hovering over the Roblox Studio logo down here and clicking the one that says server. It will bring it up. Let's bring up the output window so we can actually see what's getting printed. If we come over here to player 1, if we hover over player 2, so you see that it prints now on the server here that it's getting player 2. Awesome. So let's clean that up, get rid of it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to, instead of saying that pushing player equals true, we're going to do pushing player equals arg1 with the square brackets around it. And then when we're ending, we'll change it to nil. Now let's come down here to the heartbeat function. We're going to copy this code, a few lines, put it back in, and we're going to name it to, we're going to say for every value inside of pushing, we are going to push the player back, essentially. So what we're going to do is we'll do, remove all these, we'll do player.character.humanoid root part dot cframe. Actually, no, we're going to use body velocity for this. Yes. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to do so body velocity lets us push back a part or an object in the game rather easily, actually. So let's insert this. We're going to do local body velocity equals instance.new body velocity. But our character might already have one, and so instead of value here, we're going to name it actually pushing player. Our pushing player might already have a value in it, so we're going to do pushing player dot character dot humanoid root part find first child body velocity or. All right, so what we're doing here, zoom this out a bit. We're making a new body velocity variable, and we're going to check to see if it's in the humanoids or the character's humanoid root part first, and if it's not, then we're going to create a new one. And then we want to make sure that if we do create a new one, it's parented to the pushing player's to the pushing player.character inside their humanoid root part. Excellent. So now that it's inside their part, we can push them back. So body velocity, we're going to change the max force we're going to change it to a vector 3 and dot new. Let's just do 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, and then we're going to do body velocity dot velocity. And then we're going to set this to the player who is doing the pushing. We're going to get their humanoid root part dot position, and we're going to subtract the pushing players. So pushing player dot character dot humanoid root part. We're going to get their position. We're going to wrap this in parentheses, and then at the end of here we're going to write dot unit. And what this will do, it will push the player back depending on how our characters are actually looking at each other. And then up here in this nil area here, what we're actually going to do is we're going to delete this body velocity. So let's copy this, copy that, put it up here. And instead of pushing player, we're going to copy this, the pushing player with square brackets player dot character. We're going to do local velocity equals the body velocity if it's inside the humanoid root part, and if it exists, then we will destroy it. And that will effectively stop the push-in. So this probably will have a bug or two, but let's test this out. So when our character hovers over another character and clicks T, it should push them back. It's actually, I just thought about this, it's probably going to push them back pretty slowly, if it even does push them back at all. Yeah, so that's not even doing anything. Let's check our server to see if it's actually, oh, there's actually an error. Character, oh, we misspelled character, okay. For server line 52. Line 52. Character. There. And before we go, we're actually we have to give our body velocity a speed. So we want to push them back at a speed of, say, 50 studs per second. That's the speed we want to push them back at. So now that we have this, let's test it out. Once our server loads in, when we hover over our enemy character and click T, hopefully they get pushed back. Well, something happens. They get lifted up. Any errors? Yes. Position is not a valid member of humanoid, probably because we misspelt humanoid root part. You guys probably saw that. Where do we do that? Humanoid root part. Here. This should say humanoid root part. Excellent. So now, let me test it out. It should, hopefully, push them back the right way. But I guess there's only one way to find out, and that's by testing. So, let's let it load up. Sometimes they don't load in at the same time, but that's okay. We'll just wait a second, and when we push. Oh, so actually, here we've actually created the pull. So now when we hold over our player, it's actually pulling them towards us. Interesting. And it's going slow because the max force isn't high enough. It should only pull them back until they get to us. And it should stop. Okay. So let's actually change this up. We're going to change this 50 to a negative 50. And that will push them away. And let's just add another 0 to our max force. Maybe 2 more zeros, actually. So now it's 100,000 max force rather than 10,000. And now when we test this out, there was actually one other bug. When our force bar ran out of power, it actually didn't stop anything. So we will have to fix that too. or when our force bar ran out, it was still pulling them towards us if we held down the button. So we'll have to fix that too. Now, if this was a more advanced tutorial, we'd probably be managing the force powers on the server just because of security reasons. Exploiters could probably work with this force power bar and exploit it. It's a beginner tutorial. If you want to move it to the server and you know how, go ahead. Now, if we hover over our character, hold down T, now it pushes them away at 50 studs per second. And yeah. So we can push this guy back too. Oh, we're on the wrong screen here. Push him off the edge. And there he goes. Awesome. So that's that. So now we just have to do the stop all thing. And we're just going to copy this end code here. Bring it up here. Oops. And then we'll do Shift Tab to bring it back a few. And then we're just going to write here, if they are currently pushing a player, then add an end down there and tab all those over. So if they're pushing a player, it's going to look for it, look for the body velocity and delete it from the player that they're pushing. And there, that should all work. And now we just have to do the pulling. Now the pulling actually is actually going to use essentially the same concept, except this -50 is going to be a +50. So actually we're just going to copy a bunch of code here. Copy this pushing player thing. And we're going to change everywhere where it says pushing, we're going to change it to pulling. So pulling player, pulling, and then change this 50, or change that to 50 from -50. Come up here, create a new table, name it pulling. And then here we're going to copy this code as well. This, yeah, that should be back there a bit. And change it from pushing to pulling. So all we're doing right now is copy and pasting all the pushing code and just changing the word pushing to pulling. And then here we're going to copy this push code also and change it to pull. And then we'll change all these words to pulling as well. Excellent. So now we just have to come over to our local script here. And if action equals push, or pull instead of push, then we'll just change all the words push to pull. Quite simple. And then we just have to bind a new action. So change the word here from push to pull, and we'll make them push with T, and then we'll pull with E, I guess. Yeah, we'll pull with E. And now when we test this code out, when we click T, it should push them away, and when we hold down E, it should pull them towards us. Up until the point that our force power bar runs out of power. Sorry, my chair is a bit loud. So now respond in. We press T. T is pulling them towards us. Okay, that's a problem. And E does nothing. Okay, let's take a look at why that's happening. Push, 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 push. Pull, 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 pull. Pushing. All right, so we forgot to change this one word here from pushing to pulling. So you have to make sure that all the code that you copied, you did change all the pushes to pulls, or else it's going to conflict with each other. And now that we fixed that up, it should work as expected. T to push, E to pull. And if you don't like the speed that they're moving at, you can change the 50 to really any number you want. Anything smaller, they'll move a bit slower. Anything bigger, and they will be pushed or pulled at an insane speed, because 50 is already pretty insane. So T pushes, and E is pulling. Now they should only be pulled up to our spot, yeah. So they get pulled until they're near us, and then they just stay near us, which is really what we want. We don't want them to be pushed and pulled across the map, really. If we do push, though, we can push them as far away as we want, really. And it depends on where our character is facing. Push them off the map. Awesome. So that's it for pushing and pulling. In the next video, we will be talking about a force slam, where our character is going to jump in the air, come onto the ground, and slam and damage players in the area around them. And I know in the intro it says that we're only doing 4 videos, but it's probably going to end up being more like 8 videos, where we're going to be talking about force lightning and force choking as well as a few others that you guys have suggested that I will announce later. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. If you have any feedback or any comments about this video, make sure you write a comment so we can fix these videos and make them better for you guys. And make sure you subscribe to get notifications about all of our new videos. If you need help, head over to the Discord server and we will help you there. If you want to get these videos 1 week early, make sure you become a supporter. It's only 20 Robux. You get access to these videos 1 week early through the Discord server. Awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next week.